Welcome to Conversations with Cox and Kielseth, and to be more specific, that is filmmaker Alex Cox and myself, film curator Pablo Kielseth. Alex will join us by phone from his home in Oregon, while I sneak away from my office to call him from one of the projection booths used by the International Film Series, which has been screening foreign and independent movies at CU Boulder since 1941. We will keep our chats to about 20 minutes as we discuss whatever movie-related topics grab our fancy. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, action.
Alejandro, it's good to talk to you again.
It's very nice to hear your voice, too.
And thank you, by the way, for being amenable to selecting a Mexican director to talk about today.
Oh, well, there are so many good ones, are there not?
Yeah, but so tell us who your choice is.
Well, I thought a guy called Luis Estrada, who made a film that I'm in, or actually I'm in two of his films, in fact. But in spite of that, even though he has tremendous taste in actors, obviously I'm very impressed by his casting choices, but also he has made some extremely funny and truthful films about Mexico and about what goes on in Mexico, which have been very successful over there, but not very widely seen outside.
Well, he's known. Correct me at any point if I'm wrong, but he's known also for being able to really focus and tackle the idea or corruption, political corruption, very in a clear-eyed manner, I think. And I remember we screened. I think it was Herod's Law from 1999 is one that we screened at the IFS. Yeah. What were the films that you were in?
That's the one. That's the first one that I was in. I am the bad gringo in that. So Damian Alcázar is always the hero of these films, and Damian is this sort of like small town mayor who's totally corrupt, and I'm a profiteering gringo who's down there just to rip off the Mexicans whom I hate. And so it goes, and lots of other stuff happens, and there's much corruption and villainy and murder. It's a very good film, very entertaining, and it was very popular when it finally came out. It had a sort of a checkered history because it was viewed as quite political, because it named the political parties and showed their little badges and that kind of thing, which no film had ever done that before.
And you've actually had a pretty long string of bad gringo roles, I think, haven't you?
I've played various bad gringos in Mexican film and television, yes, and I hope still to do. I hope that they continue to need like evil old white guys, that speak Spanish, because then I can.
And your last evil gringo role was in a television series, I believe.
In a series that was done for Televisa, which was then available via streaming, called Un Extraño Enemigo. But that was not directed by Luis Estrada. And even though the film that I was in is very, very good, I think that his best film, or some people would say, most people would say his best film is El Infierno, which I think you've
Really?
seen. Yeah.
For some reason, I thought it was The Perfect Dictatorship.
Oh, The Perfect Dictatorship is great as well.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a wonderful film. Very good, very funny. But
now, how is it that you first came to know Luis Estrada?
Because we were both like directors working in Mexico at Churubusco Studios and other places in Mexico City. So we met in that world, which wasn't very big, really.
Yeah, and the famous Churubusco.
And so I'd met him, and I also knew some other directors there, and then he was looking for somebody to play the bad gringo, and luckily, I got picked to be the bad gringo, and that was fantastic. So because the film has actually ended up being quite successful, and had this sort of because of its political boldness. And also, I think the character of the protagonist that always appears in his political films, the guy played by Damian Alcázar, is always a very totally unscrupulous and wicked guy who's also very attractive.
Uh-huh. And Luis was also he was the son of a Mexican film director.
His father was called El Perro Estrada, the dog Estrada, and so Luis was called El Perito. In the studio they would call him El Perito Estrada, the little dog Estrada.
Are you familiar with any of El Perro's films?
I haven't seen any of those films.
Ah.
But I met on the set of one of Luis's films, before he made this quadrilogy of very interesting political movies, he made a kind of a special effecty, very art directy film called Ambar. And I think that I met your Mexican director of choice on the set of Ambar, because he used to be a special effects makeup guy.
Well, that's fascinating and provides a good bridge. But the last thing I wanted to say about Luis Estrada is that most people listening will, despite these wonderful films that he's put out there, that are many of which have won just a tremendous number of awards, but he's probably now best known for his contributions to, is it the Narco series, or am I getting it confused with someone else?
I don't know if he directed any episodes of Narcos.
Okay, or I guess he did a film called El Narco in 2010.
Ah, no, that's El Infierno. That just gets that appears to have been given the title El Narco by the by the gringos, but I don't think it's a proper. I don't think it's the genuine title of the film at all. It's just a title that the distributor has given it in the U.S. for some reason.
Gotcha. Well, so the director that you say that he did overlap with a little bit, that I picked, is Guillermo del Toro.
Yes.
And I wanted to talk about Guillermo del Toro for, well, a couple of reasons. First, of course, we've shown many of his films at the International Film Series here in Boulder, starting with Kronos, which was his first sort of big, well-known feature that got a really good word in the art house realm and started off a long and fruitful relationship with Ron Perlman as well, involving a cockroach-like machine that might promise eternal life or maybe just sucks the blood out of you. That was shot in Mexico. Yeah. And then he did Mimic, which was actually a horror film that I actually rather liked, but that did not do so well. And then I saw Guillermo at the Telluride Film Festival when he premiered The Devil's Backbone there. That was shot in Spain, and it deals with the Spanish Civil War. And I remember that while he was there, and of course Telluride is known for mostly screening these, sort of the creme de la creme films of great artistic merit. And The Devil's Backbone does fall into that, that rubric for sure. But I remember that as they were reading the credits of his accomplishments, they also mentioned that at the time he was also in production on Blade 2, and he shouted out something along the lines of, "Hey, a guy's got to make a living." So he's clearly got a good sense of humor, and he's done just fine with other films like Hellboy, and then of course the big break for him was Pan's Labyrinth. That was in 2006. That was a huge success. And even though he'd go on to direct quite a few other films, it would take another 10 years before he got the kind of recognition for putting out something of the kind of artistic level that Pan's Labyrinth was with the recent The Shape of Water. Now, I don't know, did you ever see that one?
No, I didn't. Didn't we talk? I thought you and I had rambled on about that already. Maybe it was just in my dreams. Isn't it a remake of The Creature from the Black Lagoon?
Well, it's not a remake.
No, not a remake. I shouldn't say a remake. But.
Yeah. No, but now you're touching on a word that is relevant once again to the International Film Series, because Guillermo del Toro is currently in production on a remake of Nightmare Alley.
Oh, how interesting.
And that is a film from 1947 that we are screening at the International Film Series on 35 millimeter this Monday.
Great.
So, and Jason's actually going to try to put this out so that it comes out faster than usual, so that it might help if anyone's listening and you're interested. On this Monday, February 24th, heading over to Munzinger Auditorium, you'll get a chance to see Nightmare Alley, the original Nightmare Alley.
A great film.
Now wonderful film. It was, I'm going to start off with a quote from critic Michael Durda, who said that the book, Nightmare Alley, portrays 1930s America as a sleazy, run-down carnival where everyone is either on the make, a born sucker, or trapped in a real or psychological cage. End quote. And I just thought, wow, that really sums it up beautifully. And it was directed by Edmund Golding, who is a Hollywood veteran known for melodramas, and based on the book of the same name, which was published a year earlier by William Lindsay Gresham. I haven't read the book, but from what I understand, as a child, Gresham was fascinated by the sideshow at Coney Island and would go on to write one nonfiction book and then a fiction book dealing with the life of the carny. He also struggled with alcoholism and then dabbled with Zen Buddhism and Christianity, Alcoholics Anonymous, and Scientology. But he had a bunch of personal problems, and in his early 50s, he started to go blind and was diagnosed with tongue cancer. And that, along with the fact that he never wrote another successful book after Nightmare Alley, I think it kind of led to him taking an overdose of sleeping pills and committing suicide in 1962. So, I don't know. Boy, all that deep, dark kind of a life in the past, I think it does feed into what you will see on the screen with Nightmare Alley, which stars Tyrone Power as Stanton Carlyle. And he was actually the one who, I guess, was really the force behind pushing because he bought the rights to the novel, and he's the one who persuaded Daryl Zanuck and 20th Century Fox to go ahead with the film. So anyway, yeah, I've seen it a couple times. I really like it, and I'm looking forward to seeing it again this Monday. Have you seen it yourself recently, or what's your memory of it?
Not for a long time, no. I get it mixed up a little bit with The Face in the Crowd as well.
Oh, interesting. Huh.
They're both these tour de force performances, but then of course you mentioned it's Tyrone Power, and then I thought, yeah, it's the geek.
Yes, that's right. And there's a
terrible.
Really there's a fun little one of there's a little connection to CU Boulder here with the remake that Guillermo del Toro is doing, because Deanne Bacher, who graduated from our film program here at CU, he also acted in several films with Trey Parker and Matt Stone, and he has some kind of a supporting character role in Guillermo del Toro's remake being shot right now. So it'll be interesting to see him. Yeah. I think the only thing I forgot to mention was that the screenplay for Nightmare Alley was written by Jules Firthman, who also worked on The Big Sleep and To Have and Have Not, so among many other fine films. So that's not too shabby.
No, it's quite a pedigree. So that's very exciting, because it is a great. I mean, it is a great film noir. You know, it's really, really worth seeing, and especially to see it in 35 is very exciting. An opportunity not to be missed.
Yeah, and you know, it's I know I have full faith in Guillermo del Toro doing something. He will, I imagine, go in a much more fantastic direction. But if you want to sort of go to the source material to prime the pump to further your enjoyment when Guillermo del Toro's version comes out, this is certainly not an opportunity to be missed.
Well, the other thing is it's very hard to do a remake of a good film. It's very hard. Yeah. I mean, it's very hard to do a good remake. The only one I can think of is Sorcerer. Apart from that, remakes are generally a bit kind of But that said, we'll see what it's like. I'll go and see it. It sounds very interesting.
Yeah. I'll be there. When was, by the way, when was the last time you were in Mexico? Was it probably more recently than myself, I think?
Not for a little while. I was there when we were doing that series. And I don't think I've been back there since we did the series. So that's more than a year. That's almost 2 years since I was in Mexico.
Yeah, ¿y cómo está tu español, señor?
Sigue igual. Si yo tengo oportunidad de platicar en español, a ver cómo vamos.
Muy bien, I like it. Yeah, I think you're doing just fine.
But we'll see. But I'm still hoping that Luis Estrada is going to get another film on. Call me back for a supporting role, or to be his location guy in Tucson.
Well, my fingers are crossed for you. I'm always happy to see. I'm always happy to see my favorite evil gringo on the screen. So,
it's great.
Whether it be as a CIA man or a profiteer.
It's or whatever it is. Yes, it's always a pleasure. So Mexican directors, don't be shy.
There you go.
And good luck with that screening. I hope it goes very well and you get a good turnout.
Thanks. I'll let you know how it goes, and I'll touch base with you next week.
Good.
Okay. All right. Ciao, Alejandro.
Thank you very much. Ciao.
All right. Adios.
And cut. Okay, that's a wrap.
Thanks again for joining Alex Cox and myself today. I'd like to thank Jason Phelps for handling the audio and Ted Thacker for letting us use the intro to his song, The Ballad of Slim Cessna, for the musical cues that bookend these conversations. Don't forget to go out there and watch movies in a larger-than-home venue. It's what brings us all together to see movies the way they were meant to be seen, on the big screen, as we sit next to strangers, neighbors, and friends.